shocking sin that looks innocent but leads to hell. It started with silence, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes you aware of every beat of your heart. Mara had been sick for weeks, drifting between fevers and exhaustion. She never thought her last night on earth would come so quickly. The hospital monitors blinked like tired eyes, and she closed hers for what she thought would be just a moment of rest. But when she opened them again, she was no longer in the hospital. The room was gone. The world was gone. She stood in a place that was neither light nor dark, but something in between, like twilight before a storm. Her first instinct was awe. She felt lighter, unchained, as if the weight of her body had been stripped away. For a split second, she thought, so this is heaven. But then a sound came. Not a song, not laughter, but whispers. Thousands of whispers, grinding together like teeth in the shadows. Her heart pounded, shapes moved in the distance. A heat rose. Not warm, but oppressive, like fire that doesn't give light. She wanted to run, but had nowhere to go. That's when it happened. A brilliance cut through the gloom, sudden and fierce, and her soul instantly knew. It was Jesus. The sight was enough to drop her spirit to its knees. His face was brighter than the sun, his eyes flames of holy fire. Love radiated from him, yes, but also something else, something more terrifying than anything she had ever imagined. Absolute truth. His presence revealed everything, secrets she had buried, excuses she had crafted, sins she had renamed as innocent. She thought she was safe. She thought little things didn't matter. But standing before him, she felt her chest tighten with the most shocking realization. She was wrong. "Come," he said, his voice like thunder wrapped in compassion. He extended his hand, and with one gesture, her entire life unfolded around them. Every moment, every thought, every secret. And what he showed her next was so simple, so common, so deceptively harmless. Yet it was the very thing that had almost dragged her to hell. The heart monitor screamed, then flattened into a single merciless line. Mara's world went silent. No fluorescent hum, no nurse's shoes, no whispered prayers from her sister's lips, just a hush, like the breath before a storm, followed by darkness, thick as velvet. She tried to inhale and realized breath wasn't necessary. She tried to sit up and realized her body was a few feet below, surrounded by frantic hands. The scene was real, and already far away, like a memory slipping through fingers. A wind, not air but awareness, moved around her, and the darkness thinned. A presence stepped forward, brighter than lightning and softer than dawn. When he looked at her, love punched through her like a wave. "Jesus," she breathed, without lips, without sound, only certainty. He didn't accuse. He didn't flinch. He held her with eyes that had watched galaxies ignite and tears fall on kitchen floors. "Come," he said, and the word was not a command so much as an invitation back to the truth she had avoided. They moved, without steps, without time, into a place that was not a room and yet contained her entire life. It unfolded in living color. Birthdays and arguments, Sunday services and Monday resentments, smiles practiced for cameras and sighs exhaled in traffic. She saw herself praying eloquent prayers while nursing secret scorch marks in her chest. She saw text messages sent with a halo of concern, but laced with venom. She saw her hands serving and her heart keeping score. "Why am I seeing this?" she asked, dizzy with recognition. Jesus didn't look away. "Because I want you free," he said. "And freedom never grows in the dark." The scene rewound and paused. The breakup with her best friend over a small betrayal, the boss who took her idea and the promotion, the father who apologized too late. Each wound was a seed. Each seed became a root. Mara watched the roots twist into a chain around her heart, dainty at first, almost decorative, like a bracelet. She had called it boundaries. She had called it self-respect. She had called it being wise. Heaven called it by its real name. Unforgiveness, Jesus said, and the word echoed like a bell in a cathedral. Not shouted, not harsh, just devastatingly true. The sin that looks respectable, the sin that looks innocent because it wears armor made of pain. She saw the ledger she kept, not on paper but in her soul. Every slight tallied, every apology graded, every offense framed like a photograph and set on a shelf where she could dust it daily. "Lord, I never murdered," she whispered. "I never cheated, I gave, I served." He nodded, eyes wet with a grief deeper than oceans. "And yet you locked people in a prison in your heart and stayed to guard the door." The life review shifted. She saw faces of those she vented about in prayer groups, the laughter that wasn't kindness, the stories she shared that weren't hers to tell, gossip in lace, malice under perfume, knives with Bible verses etched on the blade. "Unforgiveness," Jesus repeated, "breeds these children." He extended a hand, and she saw the cross, not as jewelry, but as history alive, splinters, blood, the weight of sin. "I forgave you at this cost. Why did you think you could withhold what I bled to give?" The light dimmed, not because he dimmed, but because they moved closer to a border. The air, or what felt like air, grew heavy with a heat that didn't warm. A sound rose, not like thunder, but like millions of whispers grinding their teeth at once. They stood at the lip of a chasm. There were no cartoon devils, no pitchforks, only doors, countless doors, slammed from the inside. Behind each door a voice murmured, "It's not fair, it's not my fault. I won't let it go, ever." Mara trembled. "Is this?" Jesus nodded. "This is what unforgiveness chooses when it grows to full height. Isolation that never ends, justice demanded without mercy offered, a courtroom with no judge, only a plaintiff who never rests." She saw a woman rocking in the dark, clutching old letters like talismans. "He hurt me," the woman hissed over and over, the words becoming chains that tightened with each repetition. "He hurt me," the chains answered. "Stay then." A man in another cell recited a litany of wrongs like a priest saying mass, sanctifying his bitterness with eloquence. His door had no lock. It simply never opened because he would not remove his hand from the handle to pull. "Hell," Jesus said gently, "is not only flames, it is the place where people finally get what they insisted upon forever, life without me and the right to keep their debts." His voice broke on the last word, not with weakness, but with love wounded. Mara's mind raced back to the Lord's Prayer, the line she spoke without tasting. "Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors." She had meant, "Forgive mine, I'll consider theirs." She had never noticed the hinge on which the door swings. "Why didn't you stop me sooner?" she asked, not accusing, just aching. He turned his hands, and she saw the scars. "I sent warnings," he said, and scenes appeared, sermons she half heard, scriptures she scrolled past, the face of a stranger she ignored in the grocery line who had whispered, "Maybe call your dad." She wept. But tears did not drown truth, they washed it. "I was protecting myself," she tried one more time. Jesus nodded. "Forgiveness is not the same as trust," he said. "Forgiveness is placing their debt in my hands. Trust is wisdom about fellowship. You used one to excuse the absence of the other." A chain around her heart tightened, and then, because she finally looked at it, cracked. "What do I do?" she asked. The chasm was too close now. The whispers too persuasive. "I don't want to be a door that never opens." "Say what is true," Jesus said, and his words spread warmth even here at the border of no warmth. "Name the hurt, name the debt, place it into my wounds, and release the right to collect, not because they deserve it, but because I paid it." Mara swallowed, though she had no throat, and began. She named the friend, the boss, the father. She named the betrayals and the birthdays missed, the lies told, the dignity stolen. With each name, she didn't rationalize. She didn't minimize. She handed the invoices, blood-stained now, to Jesus. Chains snapped, not with fireworks, but like icicles giving up under spring. Behind the doors, voices flickered, uncertain. The whispers lost their echo. Somewhere, a hinge groaned, as if surprised by its own motion. "Forgive me," Mara gasped finally, "for lording over your courtroom, for loving my wounds more than your will, for making my pain my personality." The confession wasn't shame. It was surgery. He answered by touching her forehead with fingers that felt like light. "Come away from the border," he said, and the chasm receded like a bad dream you refuse to feed. They stood again in the gallery of her life. New scenes formed, ones she had never seen because she had not created them yet. Hospital lights flooded back like sunrise. Air slammed into lungs. Nurses shouted. Her sister whispered her name with a sob that sounded like a birthday and a second chance kiss in the middle. Mara woke with a word burning in her mouth: forgive. The first call she made, still trembling, was to the friend she had hated kindly for 5 years. She didn't excuse herself. She didn't flatter her pain. She said, "I release you," and meant it. She wrote a letter to her father, not to relitigate, but to release. She asked her boss for a meeting, not to win a battle, but to break a chain. She went to the prayer group and repented for the way she'd disguised gossip as intercession. Then she served in silence for a while, letting mercy relearn her mouth. At night, when the old ledger tried to reopen, she pictured the cross and placed the page there until it couldn't be read anymore. She cried. Often she shook. She always chose. Forgiveness wasn't a feeling. It was a daily key she turned in locks she had once welded shut. Months later, Mara told her story without drama, but people still wept. "The sin that looks innocent is the deadliest," she said, voice steady. "Unforgiveness wears a crown of self-care and carries a scepter of fairness, but it builds doors that slam from the inside. Jesus didn't shame me, he showed me. He paid the debts I was hoarding and he gave me back my heart." Then she smiled through tears and whispered the word that had followed her from the border of the abyss all the way home. Wow. When the vision ended, Mara collapsed, sobbing in the arms of the Savior. She'd seen it all, the seemingly small sins that grew like vines, choking her spirit, unforgiveness dressed as boundaries, gossip disguised as concern, bitterness baptized as self-protection. These weren't dramatic crimes. They weren't the big sins she thought sent people to hell. No, they were everyday choices that looked innocent until Jesus showed her the chains they forged. He had brought her to the edge of the abyss, to the place where those chains dragged countless souls. She saw the cells of the unforgiving, the endless prisons of the bitter, the eternal echoes of the offended who refused to release their debts. It was more terrifying than fire, more heart-pounding than any nightmare, because it was real. She could feel their rage, their sorrow, their refusal, and worst of all, their endless isolation. And yet, the most tear-warming miracle of all was this: he did not show her to condemn her, but to save her. The love in his eyes was deeper than oceans. Thescars in his hands glowed with mercy. "I paid their debts," he whispered, "but you must place the debts you hold into my wounds." With trembling lips, Mara obeyed. One by one, she named them. One by one, she let them go. With each release, chains snapped, whispers faded, and light grew stronger. When she returned, gasping back into her body in that hospital bed, her sister wept beside her. Mara had been dead for minutes, but she came back alive with fire in her soul. From that day on, her message was urgent, raw, and unforgettable. The scariest sins are not the obvious ones. The scariest sins are the ones that look harmless. The grudges, the bitterness, the gossip, the refusal to forgive. They seem small, but Jesus showed me they lead to the gates of hell. Don't wait. Don't excuse them. Don't guard the prison of your pain. Release it into his hands. Forgive because he forgave you. Her story spread like wildfire, leaving people trembling, weeping, whispering wow in the pews and in their bedrooms. Not because it was just another near-death tale, but because it was believable, terrifying, emotional, and dripping with truth. And Mara herself, every time she told it, ended the same way, with tears on her face, eyes fixed on heaven, and a voice trembling with awe. Jesus is knocking. Answer while there's still time. Right now, Jesus is knocking on your heart, Revelation 3:20. Before the storm comes, before it's too late, don't harden your heart. Say yes to him today and be marked for salvation, not judgment. Let heaven be your eternal home, not a missed opportunity. Pray this now. Jesus, I believe you are the Son of God. I believe you died and rose again. Forgive me, cleanse me, make me new. I surrender my life to you. Write my name in the book of life. I am yours forever. Amen. If you prayed that, comment, yes, I'm answering the call. Share this message. Visit ourlum.com and subscribe for more truth that prepares you for eternity.